Hey there, guys. This is Yakkin with Nick, and let's start yakking. I want to talk about authenticity with you guys because this is something I've been thinking about a lot. And today, when I was deciding what am I going to talk about, when I was cutting wood with my family, excuse me, I decided that I want to talk about this thing because it's a big part of what I'm trying to do with my personal development is be more authentic. And I feel like this is a very important issue to me, and honesty has been a big thing for me because these things come hand in hand, right? Let me define authenticity real quick, and I'll explain. Let me continue what I'm saying. I think that it's a big deal to be true to your. Well, now I'm defining it. Let's do it at the same time. I can do it at the same time. Authenticity, I believe, is being true to yourself, and that's a big deal to me because just from my philosophical background and my personal development background, I am trying to be dedicated to reality and what really is true. And part of that is recognizing what is true in myself. Who do I want to be and who am I really? And this is where I think authenticity has the most value, being true to yourself has the most value, is in personal development. You know, personal development is, I guess, becoming who we want to be. As a person, you're developing your personality and you as a person, right? We're just developing to who we want to be. And to be able to do that, you are really going to have at least a better time. Maybe you don't have to be a completely authentic to yourself, but you're going to have a much easier and better time if you are authentic to yourself and honest about who you really are to yourself, so that you can recognize here is something that I do, or this is a part of me that I don't really like, and I'd like to change that. And you have to recognize that before you can change that, I think. I'm sure there may be shortcuts, but I don't encourage shortcuts in personal development. I think this is where, that's not true. I shouldn't say that. There may be shortcuts that I would advise, but I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a coach, so don't necessarily listen to me. But I do think that it's pretty obvious that if you want to change yourself, you have to be authentic and honest about who you really are, so that you can start on that, baseline and then continue to move forward. So I think that's very beneficial. But I've found recently that it's very beneficial also to be authentic in our social interactions with other people. I think that there's something that happens when you lie, especially and when you try to hide something from people, some part of you, especially people that you really care about. There's kind of a pang of like, oh, I have to do this again. At least for me, it is, right? I don't like to lie. So I feel like it's been very beneficial for me, even when it's scary, because sometimes it can be embarrassing, and you can get really scared. What are these people going to think if I share this about myself? It can be scary, but I found that it's very beneficial to do so. And this has been a big part of my personal development and becoming who I want to be. It's as a Stoic, I really feel like I don't want to let other people's thoughts about me negatively affect me. And I think that I found so much more joy being authentic to myself, being who I really am, not trying to hide things. So I want to try and do that more. And I found that if I'm more honest with other people, not only do I feel more comfortable around them, I can be who I want to be around them, but I think that people also respect that. And I think that's partly why this format of unscripted and unedited is very appealing. And that's why I really like it, is because I get to be who I am. I'm not editing out my weird ramblings that I do and my stupid jokes that I make to myself when I edit or when I record. It's really fun. And I've noticed that with shows like the Joe Rogan Experience, and I kind of feel like Puke and the Gang is pretty authentic. And it actually is very authentic. I find a lot of values in that show, and I think there are many shows that do that very well. And I decided, well, I want to encapsulate that and try it myself, because this is something that I want to be. I want to be true to who I am to everybody around me. So that's what I want to talk about today. And I want to talk about, beyond that, when is it useful, and how we might use it. And I want to get into, I want to tell a story about, I don't know, maybe we'll see how it goes. I have an outline and I'll generally follow that. So, excuse me. I think that authenticity is very beneficially used most of the time, but I definitely think there are times when it is not. Today I was thinking, this is my third take of the show, but I mentioned a few examples. That was what I was looking for. I knew it was an X word. I was thinking experiences, but I guess it is. These examples are experiences I've had in the past. So some examples I've thought of where being truly honest about who you are may not be beneficial. And one of those is like discussing politics and religion for me. I call myself an agnostic atheist, so I don't really believe that there's a God, but I don't really know. And I have beef with religion. I'm not a big fan, and particularly not a big fan of Christianity. There are a lot of things that I like about it. Now that I've learned more about certain denominations' interpretations of the teachings of the Bible, but I'm not a big fan of how it manifests itself with most denominations of Christianity. And I don't like to share that very often because many people aren't comfortable with discussing that, and I don't want to be having conversations where people are uncomfortable all the time. Sometimes it's necessary to prove to get. I don't know. There are times when you want to make people uncomfortable, I guess, but just like there are times when you don't want to be authentic. So, while I used this as an example last take or so, and I kind of realized, well, this is actually, maybe I am being authentic. So this is an example I would use. Somebody says that, oh, I've been blessed by God, or that was a miracle. And I'm like, well, why do you believe that was a miracle? Why didn't it just happen by chance? Like, ooh, we rolled in this car. We're lucky to be alive. Thank God. If he wasn't there, we would have died. I definitely don't think that that's a very realistic thing to think. It doesn't seem very reasonable or scientifically oriented. It doesn't seem. It's not falsifiable, I guess. So I'm not a big fan of that choice of language and choice of a viewpoint. I'm not a fan of that viewpoint. But do I want to share that when people say that? No, I don't, because it's not useful. What am I trying to do out of that? It doesn't make sense to try and use that as a point to convert people, because I wouldn't appreciate it if somebody did that to me when I say, I don't know, what I don't know if I say anything, but if I was in a reverse situation, I wouldn't enjoy that, because it's not a comfortable situation. We're not both deciding, hey, let's tackle this intellectual idea and see who's right. To get in an argument over that seems impractical to me. It's a way to damage relationships, and in the past, that's what I found, that it's not a useful tactic. So I try not to do that anymore. And earlier I thought that's an example of where I'm not being authentic, because I'm not sharing my true ideas and who I really am. But at the same time, I was like, well, no, maybe I am being authentic, because I don't want to damage this relationship by talking about this idea in an intellectual, debative, kind of conflictive manner, right? I don't want to have a conflict over this. And because I generally and genuinely respect what other people believe, and I understand that, not everybody is at the same place intellectually, and everybody consumes different ideas, and to be intellectually humble, that's something else I try to do. I think it's unreasonable to assume that, hey, I'm right and I need to correct other people. So in that way, I feel like it's being authentic. So I wanted to use that as an example. of where you might actually be authentic, even though it might seem that you're not. You don't have to share every part of yourself to be authentic, right? You don't want to be loud and saying, hey, blah, 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 I'm this and I'm that, or whatever it is. It has to be natural, right? You just want to be yourself. And if you're that person who likes to have these intellectual debates and you're not scared of harming relationships, then, hey, by all means, be yourself. But recognize that there will be consequences no matter what. Like, just because you're authentic doesn't mean that people are going to automatically like you, or that you're going to, everything's going to be hunky-dory and just fantastic in your relationships. No, some people are going to not like who you really are, and that's fine. Part of being authentic, I guess, is weeding that out. But there are people who I value their relationship despite having intellectual differences or differences in who we are. And I want to be able to accept that. And I don't want to pursue those challenges, I guess, if that makes sense. And I think that's a valuable thing to recognize when you're being authentic, because maybe not everybody recognizes that. But here's an example where I'm not very authentic. Or I haven't been, and I'd like to be more authentic, because I'm still trying to think of situations where it's not. But I guess this is an example of when it's not, because it's I think it's beneficial for me to well, let me just say it. I feel a reluctance to say that I'm kind of a stoner. When it comes down to it, I smoke more weed than most people do. I don't know. I'm not smoking every day and all the time, right? I like to be sober most of the time, but this is a thing that a lot of people don't like. They think that marijuana is a harmful drug, and that people who do it are bad people, as Mr. Jeff Sessions believes. I just posted something about not being political, and I always say I don't want to bring up politics, but I did it, folks. I'm sorry. It fit in. It made sense, right? I totally did. But that's one of those things where there are people in my family, and there are people that I'm very close to who don't appreciate this. And if I told them, they're not going to be happy. But in effort to being more authentic, I'm going to share that if it's asked, and I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to bring it up to people who I know aren't interested in it. Like, I've got friends who, I go over to their house sometimes, and their parents are very anti-drugs. And if they heard this, they may not want me to hang out with them because they're still in high school, right? So, but I promise, like, if you're not interested, I'm not trying to get you to do it, and I'm not going over to your house and smoking weed while you're not looking, right? Because I think that that's dishonest, and that's not who I want to be, right? I want to respect people for what they believe, and even if they think that this is not a wise choice, that as long as they're able to accept, hey, it's my choice, then I'm able to respect that, hey, you don't really want to hear about this, and I don't need to do it around you, right? That makes sense, I think. That's how I explain that. But here's when I don't want to be authentic with that, is when legal issues get involved. I am not 21, and in Oregon, you're not allowed to possess marijuana. That is cannabis. It's the same thing. If you're under 21. So this is not a tape confession saying that I do this, but this is for comedic effect. Can I say that if I'm not like registered as a comedy or categorized as a comedy podcast on like iTunes? I think I say that I'm an entertainment and maybe a philosophy culture podcast. I don't know. But anyway, I would not admit that, right? I'm not going to be authentic to the authorities. And in many cases, I think that the most common case when you don't want to be authentic and be truly honest about what you're doing and who you are is when there are legal consequences. Sometimes it's a wise thing to hedge your bets if you feel like this is that there's pretty good substantial evidence that obviously you're doing something illegal. You probably should just admit it and take your plea deal. I'm not illegal. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a legal professional. Don't take my legal advice. This is just how I feel about this is just what I think that I would do in a situation. So don't necessarily listen to me, right? I'm not that smart. I've never been in legal trouble. But there are a lot of cases where this is, right? If there's going to be very harsh negative consequences to being honest, then maybe you should lie. I think that's just true. So, I'm not in favor of being honest in all cases. I'm not in favor of being totally authentic to everybody, because it may not be what you want to do. Because if I admitted to a police officer that I was smoking weed, or that I had some on me, then I could go to jail, and that would pretty much may not ruin my life, but it would certainly slow my progress down on what I want to do. So I'm not going to do that, right? And the same thing with my parents. A year ago, 8 months ago, I wouldn't have admitted that. Because it wouldn't have been beneficial for me. I would have gotten in trouble, and I wouldn't do that. So I think that, most commonly, if there's an authority figure, it's maybe wise to lie to them and not be wholly authentic. And for me, that really comes down to is there's a lack of respect, right? When it comes from the police officer, that's not respecting my choice as an autonomous human being. I believe that I'm of the legal age of consent, and I think it's pretty ridiculous that I'm not allowed to use substances, even though I'm allowed to join the military and vote, right? I can do those things. Joining the military is a very dangerous thing. It can be very harmful for your life. We can make an argument that it's part of a civil service, and it's a good thing to do, but still, it's pretty dangerous to your health, and I don't see a difference. I think I do see it. There's a difference. I'm sorry, but I don't think that marijuana or even alcohol is more dangerous or more harmful to your life and well-being than being in live combat. So I feel like there's a lack of respect there. And even when I was under 18, I still felt like I was an autonomous human being. I make my own decisions. I'm an anarchist, right? I'm not going to accept what you tell me to do, because I'm going to do what I want to do. It's just who I am. And I feel like if you're not going to respect that, then I'm not going to respect you. And to me, being authentic and honest to people is respectful, right? I don't want to lie to you. I don't want to, tell you some lie about who I am, because I feel like that's it's tricking you, right? It's not giving you all the information, and therefore I think it could be harming you, right? It's not allowing you to make a judgment based in reality, entirely based in reality about me, if you don't really know who I am. But yeah, if you're not going to respect me and my choices as an autonomous human being, I'm not going to show you the respect either. So when it came down to if our parents asked, and I wouldn't have done it, and I would say that don't get yourself in trouble if you don't have to. And I think the only way you can really get yourself in trouble is from authority figures. So that's when I guess that's all I have to say about when it may not be useful, but I can't think of any other situations. It's the consequences that matter to me, right? So, what I think it's generally in my best interest to be authentic to most people, and I'm authentic to my parents now, because I don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong, and I feel like they show me respect. So I should show them that respect, if that makes sense. So maybe I don't really need to share anything else. I think we kind of covered that, but I kind of wanted to share a story about, because people ask me sometimes, Nick, why are you so vulnerable about these things, and why are you so authentic? And I think it comes from just some trauma that I've faced in my life. I told this story a long time ago, episode 57 of the Anarcho-Yakidalism podcast at an-yk.com and-yak.com. episode 57. It was like depression and stoicism. It was I talked about some of the struggles I went through when I was younger, and I don't want to tell the whole story now, but I had a relationship with a young girl when I was we were in middle school. Both of us were, and it was my first romantic relationship, and it wasn't healthy. We didn't know what we were doing. We were both pretty stupid, and I lied a lot. Back when I was that age, I lied quite a bit, and it was not very authentic. Partly it's because you're in middle school, you're insecure, you don't want to share everything about yourself, but you think you can get away with it. So I lied to this girl all the time. I lied to, just probably about everybody, but particularly this person, and I could tell it really hurt, right? Because there were some things that I would do. They would just be quite mean, and I would lie about it, and it was too bad. And I didn't really realize how harmful that was until we broke up, and then probably a year or so later, I believe totally unrelated to our relationship, she committed suicide, and I had to deal with that. And it was very rough. So I spent a lot of time thinking about how did I treat this person when they were alive, and especially in that relationship, because it went on for 2 years. It was a big part of both of our lives, I think. At least it was for me. I don't really know for her, but at the time it seemed like it was a big deal, and it definitely was not a healthy relationship. So I felt like, well, what could I have done better? And one of them was be more honest, for sure. And I feel like that's where it kind of started, is I have to be authentic to people that I care about. And I want to be honest. And it also kind of came in, that's really when I started my personal development journey, because there was I was going through a lot of things and a lot of emotional struggle, and I wanted to change that. And I realized, I'm not happy, and I need to change that. And at times, I didn't pursue healthy strategies, but one of them was being as authentic to myself as I could, is being honest. Like, Nick, I have a problem here. It needs to change, and I need to be dedicated to reality. And that's also one of my philosophical views. I've been interested in philosophy for a long time. So I think those are kind of the places where this stems from, is from my philosophical background and from that relationship and my emotional struggles that happened when I was younger. They kind of make me feel like I should be dedicated to what's true and what's accurate. Partly it's because I want to know what's true and what's accurate. I want to know myself, but also because I think there are negative consequences that I realized a while ago to not being dedicated to accuracy and reality and being authentic and true. And only recently have I really, I feel like I've been able to really exercise that, just from the emotional literacy and tools that I've picked up, and grown as a human being. I'm able to share things that may not be comfortable for me to share, like that I even had depression, right? That was a big thing that I didn't share with hardly anybody, and it's not part of my life anymore, so I don't really share it anymore. But at a time it was, and now, I guess this just recently, I've been able to make bigger strides at doing that, and doing a podcast has done a lot of good for me in that regard. And I think that I don't know. I think people really crave authenticity. I certainly do. People want to hear these deep emotional stories, because I feel like people hide so much about themselves from other people, and I don't like that, because I think that that's not helpful, right? We're not really living who we really want to be if we're trying to hide who we really are, because it's just kind of obvious, right? That's a self I don't know, there's a philosophical term for that I probably don't need to use, but you get it what I mean. It proves itself true. If we're not being who we are, then obviously we're hiding something. And if we're not being who we are, then we're not truly comfortable with who we are, right? And if we want to if we want to change who we are, then I think that we should accept who we are and say, hey, while I don't necessarily like this, and I'd like to change, it's okay, because not everybody's perfect. Everybody has these things that we hide from each other, right? Everybody has their own struggles that maybe we don't want to share. But if we all did, I think we would all feel a little bit better. And I think that we could all be able to solve these issues that we have with each other. And that's what I found with a lot of the community that I've kind of found and I guess become part of, with people who are interested in self-development and empathy, and people in the nonviolent communication circles, and even the stoicism circles, and just the circles that the emotional literacy people that I've found. I think it's been very valuable for me, and I would encourage everybody to try and make that step of just looking inwards and saying, you know, what are the issues that I'm dealing with right now? Look at them objectively and say, this is what's happening. And then look, you know, how can I change this? And what strategies am I using? You know, what can I do to change those strategies? What other strategies can I pursue to make those issues go away? Or at least heal them, right? And particularly, I think a big issue is, people not being authentic. And I guess I don't have much else to say there. I'll leave it with that. If you'd like to help out Yakkin with Nick and myself, Nick Hazelton, the best thing you can do is go to Patreon and pledge $1, just $1. $1 a month. That's all it is. That's $12 a year. You can part with that, right? Just to help out a young starving kid. I'm not starving, but I don't have much money, and this costs money to do. I pursued a much better strategy than the last podcast. Last podcast cost like $100 a year. It's probably like $150 a year. And now I just realized maybe Libsyn. Well, what's $20? What's 20 times 12, guys? I don't know. What is 20 times 12? Now I gotta know how much money a year am I spending on this podcast. But it costs $20 a month, and if I could cover that cost, it'd be really great. And it would be. It would mean that this is doing this free, because right now it costs me money to produce this show. And while I really like it, I am somebody who really likes to produce content. I like to share, right? As obviously, I like to be super authentic. And part of the thing I like to do is produce content and provide valuable. This is making me so mad. This machine right here. This is what I'm talking about. This is one of the things I don't like. I get upset. I'm sorry. I'm trying to talk while I figured out what 12 times 20 is. It's $240. $240 a month? I mean, a year? I should go back to WordPress. What am I doing? But I didn't have stats. Anyway, I can see how many people download the podcast now. I didn't know that before. I think it's worth it. The extra $120, is it? I don't know, folks. You're just realizing you see, this is, you get to see inside this process of my mind, and I'm like thinking, wow, this is really a good deal. But I think Libsyn is pretty useful, and I want to pursue using it still, because it gives me more tools to work with that WordPress and HostGator didn't. So I'm paying $20 a month to host this show. So if I could cover that and make a little bit of money doing it, it would be really great. If it comes down to it again, like, because I pod-faded the anarcho-capitalism podcast for a reason. I just didn't have the ability to focus on it. And if it comes down to it again, I will drop this podcast immediately, because I have to prioritize everything. So this is a hobby, but I'd like to make it an entrepreneurship adventure. And if you want to help me out, if you find this show valuable and what I talk about valuable, I would really appreciate if you would go to patreon.com/justyakkin. That's JUSTYAKKIN, no spaces, no caps, just YAKKIN, patreon.com/justyakkin. I would really appreciate it if you pledged a $1 or more. It would be great. It's right, $12 a year, guys. And you can help me make this podcast work and be better and contribute to my life. I'd really appreciate that. Another way you can help out the podcast is, of course, by writing reviews on wherever you listen to it. I don't know if Stitcher and TuneIn allow you to do that, but if you listen to those there, write a review about Yakkin with Nick. Say how much you like it or say how much you don't like it. I'm okay with that, but I'd actually really prefer if you didn't say you didn't like it, because that doesn't look good to other people who discover our show or my show. But yeah, you can write me a review on iTunes or Google Play as well. Those are where it's most helpful, because that's where most people listen to the show, I believe. And you can also join. This is another way that I really like. I like to see feedback, and writing a review is part of the feedback, but I like more personalized feedback. I want to hear from you. What do you think about the show? What do you think about what I'm doing? What do you think about the topics we discuss? I'm really interested in hearing from you, because the show is called Yakkin with Nick, not Yakkin by Nick. So let's have a conversation. I have a Facebook group called the Yakkin with Nick feedback group. If you look it up, you can go to my Facebook wall. I posted about it last week or something. It's got, I can't tell you the URL because it's a long string of numbers, but if you look up Yakkin with Nick on the Facebook and find the groups section, you should be able to find it. There's no other thing called Yakkin with Nick. I'm the only one. Join in there and post. What do you think about it? What could I be doing different? What could I talk about that you would really like? That's something I really like to hear. As a listener, as an audience member, what do you want to hear from me? Because I'm doing this to provide valuable content, and it's not just me picking something and say, I want to run with that. I want to hear what you want to hear. That's how I want to phrase it. I want to hear what you want to hear. I want to hear what you have to say about what you want to hear. It's the same thing. You guys got what I mean. Yeah, I think that's it. If you'd like to help out, you can do those three things. Go to patreon.com/justYakkin. Go to write me a review on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you can. Tell your friends, tell your family. Check out this young kid. He's a yak farmer, and he talks about cool stuff like authenticity and stoicism and yaks and farming, any of that. And then you could also join my Facebook group called Yakkin with Nick Feedback Group and let me know what you think. All right, that's it, folks. I will get you a very fun interview this week. I resist always saying what my plans are if it hasn't gone through yet, but it looks like I will have another young musician on the program. He is a good friend of mine, and I'm really impressed with him. And I've been watching this kid for a long time. That sounds bad. I've been friends with this guy for a long time. He's still in high school. He's actually one of my sister's friends, about his age, but we get along really well, and I like my sister's group of friends, and he's one of my favorite people. I find him to be pretty authentic and just a really genuinely sweet and fun guy, and he makes really good music. And I'll tell you who he is next week when I talk to him. I'll have him in the studio. It'll be my second studio appearance. It'll be cool. It'll be really fun, and I'm excited to talk to him because I think that artists are really interesting people most of the time, and I think that this young man will be very impressive to you, and you'll definitely enjoy it. So I'll talk to you again on Thursday, I guess. I'll probably release it on Friday. This is not coming out tonight. I might upload it, but yeah, we'll finish this in the morning. It'll be Wednesday. Anyway, I'll talk to you again soon, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and I should challenge you to be more authentic, but I don't know how, and I don't want to think of one. But if you're curious, how can you be more authentic? Post it in the group or email me. You can do that too. yakkinwithnick@gmail.com. That's YAKKIN, no G. yakkinwithnick@gmail.com. And you can email me there if you don't want to share your feedback publicly. And yeah, I'll ask if I want to share what you say in an email before I do it. So don't, if you want to contact me privately, you can email me, and only me and the CIA will see it. So, all right, I will see you. Goodness, just end the show, Nick. Just end it.